Elia presents Talking. Today we're to talk High School Musical, the series, season 2. Back with Justine Rafael, recently graduated from UCI. How you doing, Justine?
I'm so good. I'm so glad to be here. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so happy for you and you graduated. I'm sure it was really tough this last year with COVID and all that. All right, so we're going to go through each episode, the highlights and how we think first. And at the very end, we'll go through our top moments and whatnot. So let's break down the episodes, starting with episode 1 titled New Year's Eve. Starts with an opening dance number, Something in the Air, with the entire cast, which they killed it. They do a gift exchange between Ricky and Nene where Ricky performs the perfect gift. Right after that, they introduce a new character named Zach Roy, who was clear was going to be an antagonist from the beginning. Miss Jen's old classmate from high school. He's, I think, supposedly like a Broadway star in the show, but he came back to be the head of the drama club at North High. The cast thinks that High School Musical 2 is going to be the spring musical. So Ricky goes and practices Bet on It in Big Red's basement, which was pretty hilarious. I liked it a lot. And then they have a New Year's Eve
So
party
good.
at Ashlyn's house. And I think this is the first time they mention that Carlos is rich. I can't recall him in the first season that happening, but
Yeah,
this
I
is
think that's the first
definitely,
time as
yeah,
well.
for sure. And then Big Red's family restaurant Slices becomes a big part of the season 2, especially location.
Mm.
Gina has all these looks towards Ricky. They break the tension in the show by saying they're going to go grab a root beer. They read all their resolutions, and I think the 2 biggest ones that come up is Nene's talking about her leaving for Denver, and Ashlyn and
Yeah.
Big Red defining their relationship. The cast sings a High School 2
Hmm.
medley, which was really, really good. I loved it. They did fabulous. You Are the Music in Me.
Brilliant.
All
I
for
loved
One.
it.
Yes. It's awesome. And for the midnight kiss, Big Red and Ashlyn have a kiss. And then Miss Jen comes in last minute and says they're switching from High School Musical 2 to Beauty and the Beast. And then the
Mm.
Alan Menken Awards that they were going to compete for, the Menkeys, with a 50,000 prize, grand prize. The episode ends with Nene saying that she's going to move to Denver. All right. So thoughts? Is there a favorite moment of this episode for you?
I think it was a really, really good opening episode for the season. I think that first opening number, something, I think it's called Something in the Air,
Yes.
right?
Something in the Air. Yes.
Yeah, Something in the Air. I think that really sets the tone for the entire episode and truly for the whole season. Like that was such a killer number, and I
Yeah.
thought that was a really
Yeah.
good solid start. I would say that and the High School Musical 2 medley
Yes.
are
Yes.
are the highlights for me because hearing Nene and Ricky sing "You Are the Music in Me" is a dream. Like
Yes.
that was the
Agreed.
highlight of the episode for me.
Agreed. Agreed. Is the Menkeys, is that a real thing or is that a made up award for this show?
The Mankeys is it's a real concept, but they changed the name of
Ah,
the awards. But that concept of like a High School Musical theater show where each like school participates, that is a real thing. They just changed the name of the awards. Yeah.
got it. Got it. Okay. Okay. Awesome. I see. I see. Because obviously this season, a lot of it is driven by this award show and
Right.
their competition with North High.
Yeah.
All right. Moving
Yeah.
on to episode 2, typecasting. It starts with Mr. Mazara flirting with Miss Jen. You absolutely mentioned, like, why does she have so many love interests in the messages during the season? Ashlyn says that she thinks she's gonna get Miss Potts because of the her
Typecasting.
typecast, right? So it's perfect for the
Right.
um, title of the episode. And then Ricky says he doesn't know if he wants to audition because Nene's leaving for Denver, which is the most Troy Bolton thing you can do,
Sa
right? And then
Yeah.
before they go, she goes. They have a gift exchange where he gets her a snow globe, and then Lily is introduced to the season, and we'll get into that as we go. Lily gets, yeah. I think it was clear at that point that she was probably going to be antagonist, but she was introduced, and then Ashlyn
Yes.
introduces a tri-set audition idea to Courtney and Gina, where the 3 girls would audition together.
Hmm.
Gina initially turns it down because she wanted to audition solo. Nene FaceTimes Ricky and mentions that he should audition. Carlos also asked Gina to be a co-choreographer, and then Gina
Hmm.
gets approached by Lily and is extremely turned off, and she decides to audition with Ashlyn and Courtney as well. They do sing Belle during the auditions, and all the girls have their turn singing Belle, which was a pretty spectacular number. We also get to see Nene in Denver for the first time
Yeah.
at Yak. Obviously, I think the moment they started playing it, we knew what it was going to be like because, like, it just even the color on the screen changed
Right.
completely.
Yeah, such a stark
Yes,
contrast. Yeah.
yes. And then they sing 1, 2, 3, Gina, Ashlyn, and Courtney, which was an awesome song and a killer number. The three girls killed it. It was amazing. At the end, they show the casting, and the big thing is Ashlyn gets the role of Belle, and he gets the beast. He FaceTimes with Nene and he thanks her, and then Nene obviously feels, I think, left out being at Yak, and she wasn't enjoying it. And it ends with Lily calling the North High Drama Club. I don't know where you want to start with this episode. A lot happened during this episode.
A lot happens in this episode. I think let's start with everything before the casting because I feel like the casting like in itself is like such a huge subject and like that is so huge. I want to say firstly that the subplot of Nene and Ricky having a long distance relationship like seems so cliche, but I think that that's like so important because I think that's like just a leveling up of their maturity because long distance relationships are like real shit
Right.
and they're in high school and they're dealing with it and it's like they're acting they're acting in this scene where he gives her the snow globe and
Yes.
she says every time I miss you I'm going to shake this.
Right.
Their acting in that scene specifically is so phenomenal and
Right.
the writers do just such a good job of showing what it's like to be in love as a teenager. It's like it's not corny at all. Like the
Right.
way I see it, it's not cheesy, it's not corny, it's so real. Like those things that you say to your significant other when you're 17,
Yeah.
like to other people may seem really really cliche, but to them it's just so real. Like
Right.
I just that entire scene is so good to me.
I mean, we should also mention that Olivia Rodrigo's album Sour came out right before this episode. So there
Right.
was an extra amount of emotions going on as this episode in particular was going on.
Yes.
Um, Lily, we knew what she was going to become. She hasn't angered us to the level she will throughout the season. I did notice the second time around that she was wearing an Ariel necklace um, while she auditioned, which, their North High is doing
Mhm.
the Little Mermaid. So I don't know. I'm pretty positive they left that on purpose as like a clue that she was going to be a part of North High Drama Club at some point.
Nice.
Um, I actually didn't, the yak scenes and the situation. Like, I didn't know from the beginning it was gonna be that dark. Like she wasn't gonna like anything about it. Like I thought I was gonna get into it
Right.
and then maybe later, but that it was obvious from the first moment that I was like, oh, she's gonna hate this. And
Yeah, I agree. That was such an interesting choice to me that they made it so like the stark contrast was so immediate, like so instant, and you could
right,
see the vibes like
right,
right off the bat. And I thought that was a really interesting choice. I mean, and we'll talk about this like as we go into the other episodes, like where she comes back. But I think it was such an interesting choice for her to go, for her to have all of these ambitions about going and chasing her dreams at this really prestigious
right,
school and then she goes she hates it and immediately comes back. I think
right.
that's a really really interesting choice.
I think both of us thought it was gonna be way later down the line than
Way
which yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly.
All right, moving on to episode 3, which was Valentine's Day. Uh, the episode starts with Nene singing in front of Ricky's house, that song, The Best Part. Simultaneously, Ricky went to Denver and is looking for her, which, of course. And then
Yeah.
Courtney gets a job at Big Red's restaurant at Slices as an assistant manager, where her another character is introduced, Howie.
Yes,
Yes.
Howie.
Yes. And then Nene and Ricky FaceTime each other that they missed each other. Ashlyn describes her
Mm.
insecurities of playing Belle. Carlos, to play off the rich stereotype, gives Seb a Tiffany and Co. bag as a gift for Valentine's Day. Big Red is also insecure about being Ashlyn's boyfriend because he views her as a star and he didn't think
Mm.
he was good enough. Your favorite part, Gina visits Ricky on Valentine's Day. And they bond over their moms that are missing in their lives. And then the Miss Jen love triangle, of course,
Uh,
right? Because Ricky's dad, obviously, and Mr. Mazzara are tied in. You can argue that it's actually not even a love triangle; it's a love square if you add Zach
square,
Roy
isn't
too.
it?
Right?
Yes.
Yes. And then at the end, Gina receives chocolates and think they are from Ricky,
Whew.
which was wrong. It was actually from her mom. After she texted Ricky, "Thank you." But then, and then at the end, Ricky and Nene play a mashup of Even When and the best part to each other over voicemail. And at the ending credits, there's a song, Red Means Love, with Big Red and Ashley, which was also very cute, and I
Great.
loved it. All right, so I know this wasn't your favorite episode, so let's talk straight into it. What stood out to you during this?
There's so much to unpack here because so there are so I have so many things in my notes for this episode. I'll start with the establishing of Howie. I just think he's such a great character.
Yeah,
I think he's a little bit mysterious at first because he like also I couldn't tell if he was supposed to look a little bit older than Courtney or if he's supposed to be younger. That's probably just my eyes. But he seems a little bit mysterious. You know, he comes in like a rush and they're just like working and he's like complaining. Like it's a
yeah.
really interesting way to introduce that character. But I ended up loving him. I
Oh
love
yeah,
Howie.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Another really, really good part about this episode is just Ashlyn's entire arc in this season is really great,
yeah,
but her being the character that brings up conversations about body image
yeah,
and Disney animation, you know, bringing all of these unrealistic expectations for women and feeding that to little girls, or not feeding that to little girls, but that is what little girls see and
yes,
idolize all the time. I
yes,
think that was monumental to me because that was also sort of I mean, and I can't say this for sure, but this is what it feels like to me. It's sort of Disney recognizing the error of their ways because obviously this is a Disney Channel show.
yep,
Ashlyn is not complaining, but talking about how Belle looks like this
yes,
and
yes,
I look like
yes,
this. So that was really really monumental to me and really really important. Even though they don't go into such a specific detail with it and such specific detail with Ashlyn's journey with herself, or even like Gina's or Nini's, like any of the women, they don't really like go into a huge conversation about it. I think even the fact that it's brought up is really,
right,
really important.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Gina and Ricky.
I have so I have so many qualms with this. And I understand that it's all very intentional to show um probably, you know, Gina's feelings for Ricky and that Ricky is also in his own way like sort of giving it a green light a little bit because who like truly like why would you go to someone's house on Valentine's Day
Yeah,
when you know that they have a girlfriend
yeah,
and like when you know that you know they're in a long distance relationship, it could sort of be a hard day for them. Like it feels invasive,
yeah,
and I feel bad for her because she wants someone to connect to, obviously,
sure,
but it's just that to me is just
yeah,
so
yeah.
wrong.
And that was exactly what you wrote too while it was happening too. Um,
Yes.
the part of this episode that bothered me was they just went to each other's houses, and he went all the way to Denver. And like I know she was at the hospital. I was like, man, you couldn't have, you know, waited in the waiting area with her.
Exactly,
Like it's
exactly.
Valentine's Day. Like it just that part of it to me, I was just like, all right. I mean, obviously they had to do that for the Gina part to come in, and then like for them to extend this we're apart, thing going on. But like that part of did not that was the most unrealistic part of the entire episode, because
I
clearly he
agree.
would have probably just, I think you wrote like, just take your skateboard and ride down there. I think that's what your message was exactly when it was happening. If had he done that, then Gina couldn't have visited him. So I don't know if that was the intention of that part. All right, so let's move on to episode 4, The Storm. Nini's heading back, but it implies that they hung out, I think, twice while she was visiting during the weekend, but we never actually saw them hanging out in the episodes. This is my first real bringing up of EJ. Like EJ gets rejected by Duke in this episode, but like I didn't even mention EJ yet because like it hasn't really been a highlight. And I know you mentioned it early. Like, what is he doing here? He like doesn't really serve a purpose in the plots at all at this point, right?
He
So
doesn't do anything. Yeah.
yes. And then Nini gets stuck in the car with Miss Jen. She's taking her back to the bus station. And they have a really nice moment. And Miss Jen tells her the frozen Broadway story, which I thought was a cool moment when Nini asks Miss Jen, like, when did you know Broadway wasn't your dream anymore? And she says she was more worried about the little girl auditioning to be little Elsa. And I thought that was a really cool moment for those two. Ricky and Big Red are discussing what
It's
Ricky
great.
should tell Nini because he wants her to stay. And Gina advises Ricky not to say that, which was also extremely interesting considering what just happened in the previous episode. And then, Gina goes off and, lashes out at Carlos clearly because she was upset about Ricky. They're stuck in the school. And this is the part that confused me about this episode, but Howie comes in with pizza to give to them. And then he leaves.
True.
So I was
Yeah.
like, so are you really stuck? But, obviously it was to add more moments about Howie and how he cared about Courtney, which was awesome for their storyline. And then Nini has a
Hmm.
solo song, Granted. She comes
Yeah.
back, and I think this moment when she comes back and tells Miss Jen she's coming back, and Miss Jen assumed because of Ricky, and she was like, no, because of you. Yak doesn't have you. And I thought that was an awesome moment for Miss Jen as well. Episode 4, yeah,
Yeah.
Nini already
Totally.
left Yak and come back. So, all right, so thoughts.
Yeah. So a lot happens in this one too, even though a lot of it is set in the same location.
Yeah,
Like it's like a bottle episode of sorts where like everyone is sort of staying in the same location, but they're establishing a lot of different things.
yes.
Um First of all, like we haven't talked about EJ at all, but
Right.
like hilarious and so predictable. Hilarious and so predictable that he doesn't get into Duke. I think you literally said in our DMs, you were like, EJ is definitely not getting into Duke, and that's going to be his entire storyline. And that is exactly correct. Um, I also think it's interesting about this is sort of like a little side thing, but it's just something in my brain that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like EJ and Nini don't act like exes at all
Right.
because like, and I think that that's so weird because like I understand that it's just like, oh, they're all friends and they're past it, but they bring up like there is nothing in there's one moment later where EJ
Yes.
finally references that he was with Nini,
Yes.
but there is nothing
Yeah.
after they break up. Like
Yeah.
they barely interact. They never talk about their previous relationship. Like that is just like interesting to me. And maybe it's just
Especially a high
like
school
an
relationship.
oversight or whatever. Yeah, especially a high school relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an, moving on. It's painful to watch Ricky confide in Gina
Yes.
about his relationship with Nini, and Gina sort of just like
Yeah.
takes it because she's trying to be a good friend. But those moments are painful. Like the whole thing when Big Red was like, "Oh, he wants to say
Yeah.
this," and then he tells the whole thing to Gina. Like all of that is just it's so painful to watch and to sort of watch like the other girl who has the unrequited love
Yes.
um like see that from her perspective.
Episode 5 is the Quinceanero, and they plan on throwing a party for Carlos at Seb's barn. And Gina
Hmm.
keeps dropping hints towards Ricky about her feelings, just like subtle stuff. And then Ricky hints that she wants to
Yeah.
bring Nini back into the show. And Gina, I think, replies like, "Is that what
Mm.
Nini wants?" And then obviously she mentions that she wants to do her own solo thing, which is hilarious. And I think you mentioned this is foreshadowing her real life. And then Gina and Ricky, again, Ricky confides in Gina, and Gina actually now tells him like maybe he should confide with someone else about Nini, which to
Yeah.
Ricky looked like he had a confused face. And
Boys,
EJ,
boys,
yes, EJ is filming
17-year-olds.
Carlos's tribute, and Mr. Mazzara tries to flirt with Miss Jen, and EJ has this like little laugh, like nice one. And he was just kind of like, wait a second, you can't record that. Take that out. With the surprise party, Gina's
Hmm.
speech, I think you thought it was like just amazing. The acting in that part. I remember you were going off in the messages about this, that whole thing about the speech plus
Yeah.
the number and her song. And she does the dance that Carlos made when he was younger and posted on Instagram. And then Gina goes to the Carlos tribute and EJ's filming her, and EJ asks how she feels and she tells him, and then he starts filming, and Gina was actually shocked that all of that stuff he was asking was not for film but for her, and that was like the first hint of a Gina EJ
Mm.
kind of thing happening. Seb performs the climb for
It's the
Carlos.
best.
Is amazing.
Ooh, great one.
And then they open up the Instagram and they find out that North High changes their show to Beauty and the Beast, and Lily is the one who is announcing it. And then they find out that Lily is at North High. And then Miss Jen kind of freaks out when she sees it and asks Nene to be in the show. And the episode ends with Gina calling her mom saying, "I'm ready to go home." So this was a really good episode. Really good episode. You have a favorite moment or
Really
something that
good
stood out?
episode. I think the highlight of this episode to me, and honestly, one of my highlights of the entire season, but especially in this episode, is Sophia Wiley's acting. That girl can literally pull out tears from nowhere. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, she's just a great actress,
Yeah.
but all of the looks that she gives Ricky when she's just like looking at him like with longing, and tears are just
Yes.
coming down from her eyes, like that is some of the realest acting I've ever seen from someone her age. It is sincerely impressive.
Yes.
That is honestly like that's the highlight for me, this one.
Yeah, I think her character like takes a complete like ascend from this episode
Yeah.
on, and she absolutely is crushing it. The EJ
Hmm.
moment, I think I was waiting for a while because I thought from the beginning of the season they're gonna pair them up, and
Right.
when they haven't been, it was like frustrating me every week, and then finally we get this.
Dude, I think I on like nothing. It wasn't. It was so subtle the way that they were dropping hints that like EJ and Gina were gonna happen. But I
Yes.
think I literally screamed at the top of my lungs,
Yeah.
like when I was like, "This is it. This is
Yeah.
the episode where they're finally gonna
Yeah.
establish
Yeah.
that EJ and Gina are gonna be together." I literally screamed at the top of my lungs.
Right, right, right. It was
Yeah.
awesome. And then moving on to episode 6, titled Yes and North High teases their Beauty and the Beast, and then the Wildcats find out that Lily will be starring as Belle for North High. Nini's role as the Rose is announced. Nini was writing a song for the Rose, and she seemed like she was. This is the first time I think she was showing like her frustrations with Ricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like venting to Courtney about how like she does all these things for him and not because she likes it, like the type of pizza sheets. As simple as that too. Miss Jen and Ricky's dad have a first date, which he brings food to the office, and they have a moment. And Ricky's dad brings these questionnaires to kind of like break the ice on their date. And then Miss Jen, of course, brings the exact questionnaire to a rehearsal the next day as an exercise, which Ricky
Mm,
took very poorly too, and he was extremely upset with her, and then ended up walking out. Gina tells
yeah.
Ashlyn that she's leaving, and then there's a flashback that is shown to season 1 where Nini and
Dude.
Ricky have probably the moment of season 1.
Yep.
And then as Nini walks out, Gina walks in from behind, and then without using all the words that say "I like you," she was basically describing everything. Like, she said the words, "I wouldn't quit on us if I wasn't moving away."
Wow.
So right, which was just amazing. And she says, "I'm gonna hold my head up high, give you a hug, and walk away." Just
So
right,
real.
right. And her acting was just spectacular, as you mentioned.
Again,
Right,
such a performance.
right.
Such a performance.
Julia Lester sings "Home" to convince Gina to stay, and that was a spectacular
Beautiful.
performance. Yes,
A beautiful performance from just everyone
yes,
involved.
yes.
So good.
And then right after that song, Gina says, "Okay, and that's it. Like, and as you were saying, like she gives like the smallest lines, just one word, but the way she says it is delivered so
It's
perfectly.
everything. Yeah, everything is in that one line.
Right, right. And then Courtney confesses to Howie how she feels in this episode, and Nene watches, and that is the inspiration for her writing the Rose song. She sings it and sends it to Courtney on a like a voice note, a voicemail. Carlos records it, and it ends there. I want to get your thoughts, but there's this one thing that was bugging me that I want to get off before I forget. Now, because we did not know this flashback happened until this episode, this is the first time knowing that Gina actually expressed something to Ricky pretty directly. This is the first time we find that out.
It's
So
true.
I couldn't understand why Ricky, I guess, technically is like egging her on after watching the flashback. Now, like, what rewatching the first 6 episodes or 7 episodes leading into that, I'm just like, are we trying to say like he's a clueless teenage boy, or like, it's because he makes a joke about chocolates and he's like, hey buddy, and then he's like confiding his feelings about Nene to her even though she said that to him. I was like, this that one was a little bit, because don't forget too, like season 1 to season 2 is not a whole lot of time in their actual life. Like season 2 is
Right.
still before the spring musical, and season 1 ends with the winter musical. So like, it's clearly at that point Gina couldn't have gotten over him. So like, that's an interesting move on Ricky's character too. But I wanted to get that off my chest before I get your thoughts. Okay.
Right. That's such an interesting thing that you bring up because I actually hadn't even thought of it that way. I had been thinking, like, wow, Ricky is kind of just letting this happen. But now that you have brought up that, like, she has explicitly expressed that she does have feelings for him, that makes it a little bit heavier on
Yeah.
Ricky's part. And I do want to say, like, of course, a lot of it is like him being just a teenage boy. But I think if that was the only reason, that would be lazy writing. And I don't think that that's what it is. I think also it's just out of the kindness of his heart and just like how much he truly does feel for Gina. Obviously, he's like in love with Nene, but I think he like deep down, I think he does feel something for Gina. Um, I think like that is what's coming out. He's human and like he's gonna give in to things too, and he's 17. But I don't know, that's a lot more of a nuanced conversation, I think.
I don't think anyone was expecting that bomb of a flashback. Like, just that came out of nowhere to me.
Right.
Like, I thought she would just tell Ashlyn, like, oh, I have feelings for him, and just like, go from there. But like, oh, I knew which scenes were just so masterfully done, because even the second time around still gave me chills. So even though I know what's about
Same.
to happen, right? So it's just, yeah, it was, yeah. Miss Jen tells Ricky that she'll stop seeing his dad because
Right.
for Ricky, and and I think that was probably an important moment for those two as well, because like, I imagine that's probably awkward to see pretty much the teacher you see the most start dating your dad. The next episode is the field trip. EJ and Gina start off co-hosting the East Tide morning show, which they're clearly
Yes.
flirting during the entire time as they're going. And then it is now uh it is now said that Carlos posted Nini's The Rose song on the Instagram channel without her permission. She said she was upset at first, but she was fine with it afterwards, and it started getting a lot of traction, which I love in this show. They're saying like, "Oh my God, it has 2,500 views!" Like, "Oh my God, I have 10," because like at the simultaneously, Olivia Rodrigo's just breaking all these records, right?
Millions,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I love, I don't think when they filmed it, they knew she was gonna do those kind of numbers with her album, but it's just funny to me how she just keeps like, "Oh my God, I've 2,000 likes," kind
So
of thing.
funny, yeah.
Yeah. Courtney, the
Mm-hmm.
entire time is distracted, texting Howie. It's like this elephant type of noise for a text sound that she was going
Right.
on, and then they realize that the beast mask is missing, and then Carlos thinks that North High stole it, and that prompts them to sneak into North High to find the mask. Gina volunteers to be the lookout, And I thought it was hilarious when Ricky yells, "What team?" The yell Wildcats in the middle of North High hallway, and then they split apart.
Yeah.
A North High student approaches Gina, and he's kind of like being friendly, a little flirtatious with her. And EJ comes in to save the day, pretending to be the boyfriend, and asks
Yes.
if they're still on for risotto later. Then that word throughout the entire season's
Yeah.
another thing. And then Nene mentions that she might want to start a separate music account, and Ricky seems extremely apprehensive about her excitement to want to be a solo artist.
Hmm.
And then Lily and the North High Drama Club catches the Wildcats, and they confront them about stealing their mask, but instead Lily just challenges them to a dance off. And then Lily approaches Ricky for the first time, I believe now, and she's flirting with him and putting ideas into his head that Nene might want space from him. And it cuts straight to the dance off, and Nene leaves because she was upset with Ricky because she said it was a bad idea. And then they do the mob song and they battle. And I just thought it was funny at the end. It's like, we won. They're like, no, we won. It's like, maybe we should have some kind of score system. I thought that
Yeah.
was pretty
Right.
hilarious. And then they end it there. And then Lily mentions that they can't use a Rose song because one of the rules is that you cannot alter the original text.
Right.
And then Ricky supported the idea of getting rid of the Rose song, which, obviously made Nene upset. And then Miss Jen, as she was leaving Zach's office, finds the mask in the piano chair. And at that point, it's on kind of thing. And I think out went the square now. Now it's not a love square. I think at that point she exits Zach Roy out. Now it's, back to a triangle.
Yeah.
Yes. And then Ricky and Nene walk out of the high school arguing, and Gina and EJ continue to walk out flirting.
Mm.
And then Big Red and Ashlyn's walking out, also arguing because of the French guy. And then Courtney texts Howie, and at this point, it is revealed that Howie goes to North High, and he is playing the Beast. Episode ends with Nene starting a new Instagram, and her title is The New Nina. All right, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of reveals in here. Were you shocked that Howie went to North High?
Um, no, I don't think I was. I think I saw that coming because of how mysterious I thought that his character was,
Yeah.
and like how out of the loop he
Yeah.
was from just the rest of the characters and like their group of friends. Like we literally have never seen
Yep.
him before, and we
Yep.
knew nothing about his background.
Right.
So it definitely wasn't very surprising to me that he went to North High.
And then obviously Nene using the word Nina is saying she's pivoting a new journey. And I think that set the course for, which almost seems like, I think you were saying like the beginning of the end to this Ricky and Nene relationship. Like it was crashing down and just kept going. And then we move on to episode 8, and it's titled Most Likely To. It begins with the rehearsal of Gaston, which I thought they killed. It was
That
amazing.
was crazy. That is, I think, one of the like most well choreographed numbers in the show. It's so fucking impressive.
Right. And it was, you get to see even Big Red having this moment.
Yes,
It
it's
was,
so good.
yeah, it was amazing. And then Mr. Mazar comes in and announces that they can't rehearse as a punishment for breaking into North High. And then Ricky asks Nene why she hasn't returned his text in 3 days, which is pretty brutal in high school, especially. So
Yeah.
that scene was a little bit hard to watch. And then Nene shows Ricky the comments on her IG. And then Ashlyn and Courtney comes, interrupts, and she leaves the phone with Ricky, and Ricky sees this comment on her IG post, and he accidentally deletes it or intentionally deletes it, however you want to call it. He
Ooh.
instantly regretted it, obviously, but he deleted and he did what he did. EJ and Gina continues to flirt during class, for which there's career day with EJ's dad coming in, and it's announced that EJ got into Duke, and his
Mhm.
dad whispers in his ears that he made some calls and got him into Duke. Ricky tells Nene that he'll try to fix whatever it is that is going on. and they have a full on yelling match at the pizza shop at Slices, and that was also extremely difficult to watch. Again,
Right.
with everything that's going on, with the album and everything that's on, as it was a anytime they were arguing was pretty brutal to watch on screen. And then
Right.
career day results come in. Big Red says he gets the service industry, and Ashlyn has this whole like presentation where she thinks like he could be more like a chef and a Michelin star chef in Paris. And Ashlyn, I think, had good intentions with what she was saying, but Big Red was saying, "This is my dream, the family restaurant." And when he said maybe it's not enough for you, oh man, that, that was heartbreaking to see. EJ comes over to talk to Ashlyn. She's not home, and he ends up talking to Gina about how he got into Duke. And EJ basically goes on
Mm-hmm.
this kind of rant about how he's privileged and he cheated his way in life and all this stuff. And then Gina kind of rebuttals with, she thinks he's the good guy that got her a plane ticket. And he's a really good guy. And it's been building to this moment. Obviously, every episode from then on, like, and this is the first real heart to heart, I think, without like a buddy buddy
Yeah.
play kind of flirting, which was, awesome to see.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to the treehouse scene
Oof.
where
God.
Ricky and Nene break up, and
God.
that scene also, is for how they did it, because like the acting was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Olivia Rodrigo is crying,
Yeah.
and Joshua Bassett too. Like the way he goes off and how he delivers his lines, it's really well made scene.
It's well done. Well
Yeah,
done.
yeah. And then the episode ends with Howie singing "If I Can't Have Her."
Wow.
Yes, yes. And then the video while he sings is him singing, and then they show a montage of Mr. Mazzara finishing editing Miss Jen's commercial. EJ, Big Red, and Ashlyn wears the Slices T-shirt to Big Red to show her support of his dream. And then it shows Ricky
Oh.
ending up at Big Red's basement, and he's crying. And that scene too is just, oh, and obviously because like this is the first time we're seeing Howie like uh singing solo, and he just kills it. Like it was
Yeah,
so
being
so beautiful.
vulnerable. Yeah.
Yes. All right, so what are your thoughts on this episode? I know you had a lot with the breakup episode part 2, and
Yeah. This is my favorite episode. This is definitely my favorite episode. There is so much that happens, but I think what really makes it my favorite is the last 15 minutes. First of all, I could talk for hours, honestly, on the breakup scene. It's just so well done. It's the most painful thing I've ever watched on a Disney Channel show. And I know, like, we have said, like, for this, like, we're not trying to make it the Olivia
yeah,
and Joshua show
yeah,
right now. We're not trying to make it like Sour.
yeah,
Like, we're not here to talk about Sour or Sabrina or anything, but like, I do wonder how badly it hurt for them to film that, or, or like, or maybe it didn't because, they were just being professional about it. But truly, that breakup scene is the most painful thing I think that I've had to watch on a Disney Channel show. And it happens in a treehouse,
yeah,
which is like, in High School Musical 3, Zach and Vanessa, they have their scene in a treehouse too. So I
yes,
thought that was such a really, really beautiful parallel that they had, where in the original High School Musical 3, like, they're having a sweet moment in the treehouse, and then here they have
yeah,
they have a breakup in the
yeah,
treehouse. But that breakup is what makes it for me. The way that Olivia is breaking down and crying, and
yeah,
Joshua, you can see, is
yeah,
trying to keep it together. And then when he leaves, he breaks down and she
yeah,
breaks down even more. It's some of the best acting I've seen in this entire series. But I think really, really, like, the winner of this is the montage during If
yeah,
I Can't Love Her at the end. Like, all of that is so well done because you're seeing the little slices of each story, little vignettes of each person, feeling their own type of heartbreak, or for Ashlyn and Big Red, it's something else. Like, that montage at the end, like, that is such a good way of wrapping things up at the end. It's just such a good way of storytelling. And this is, obviously the saddest episode, and like, I don't know, to me that it makes it my favorite because of that breakup scene, which is so well written, and
Yeah.
then that montage at the end. Just really, really good work, really good work in this episode.
There was a part when they're breaking up where, she says what she says to him, and then she says like, you know, like, can you hold me? And she
Right.
goes, it was that it was
It's
and I think,
awful.
yeah, it was not good. And I think almost every episode I did not drink, but I drank before that episode,
Mm.
unknowingly, and it was man, it was that was a hard watch. It really
That
was.
that was literally painful to watch. It would have been painful even if I didn't know
Right.
all of the
Yes.
real life beef
Yes.
or drama, whatever that was happening. Like, even if I didn't know that, it would still be bad. But
Right.
knowing all of that, I was like, this
Yeah.
10 times
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah. It was yeah. It leads into episode 9, which is spring break. And Miss Jen holds a Zoom meeting. And I thought it was a little bit like a COVID joke in there when she was like so happy for technology during these dark times.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
and then Nene replies like spring break, and she goes, of course spring break. Like I thought that was pretty
Yes.
hilarious. And then Gina was at the airport though. She's trying to go back to
Oof,
see her
so
mom. And
good.
yes, there's another character. His name is Jack, and we'll get into Jack in a little bit. Meanwhile, Ricky is visiting his mom in Chicago, and I think this is the first time Ricky is having any meaningful scenes with his mother in this show.
Yes.
And then Nene goes on IG Live and she says she has all this new music coming, and she reviews, to the camera later that, the notebook is empty and she's clearly having a writer's block.
Mm,
Jack, the guy who strikes up a conversation with Gina,
mm.
they play Two Truths and a Lie. This thing's the first time we hear that Gina has a sibling. She reveals that she has an older brother during the Two Truths and a Lie. And it's also where we find out that she's never been kissed. And then she takes off her jacket and it's revealed that she's wearing the Duke sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Yes. Courtney tells Nene that North High is getting ready to do a diss track. And then Ricky and his mom is talking about Nene, and Ricky's not really wanting to talk about it. And his mom drops this line, sometimes the last best thing we can do for someone is that we truly love is let them go. Ricky then starts writing the song Let You Go. The cast do You Ain't Seen Nothing, which amazingly done. A Zoom music video that they do. And then Ricky's mom is listening outside while Ricky's singing Let You Go on the piano. I believe this scene was pretty well made too, because she's clearly emotional listening to it. And at the end, he's like,
I agree.
Mom, you want to come in? I got something to show you. And Jack and Gina, they're clearly bonding. And Gina tells him the flight is canceled and that she's going to go back to her Ashland's house. And she tells Jack he's cute. And he tells Gina that whoever gets the first kiss is going to be a lucky guy. We are guessing whether he's going to be the first kiss or not.
Hmm.
Because, we put EJ. We finally got EJ. And
Yeah,
then
finally.
all this was happening. And then, completely at the end, EJ's waiting at the bottom of the escalators to pick up Gina, has snack for her, and he says he's going to bring her back in the morning.
Oh gosh.
And yeah, I mean,
So good.
yes. And like EJ, especially, like we went from like he wasn't doing much to like now he's like a huge part of this arc in Gina's storyline.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite moment in this episode?
Hmm. I think I think my personal highlight, and then I have like a highlight of the show because I think it's the most moving part, the part that is the most like is better for the story. My personal highlight is Gina's just all of anything that Gina is in this episode. I think she did a really great job. Like the dynamic between her and Jack, and whether or not you think that that could be something, you're sort of going on that journey with her,
Yes.
with meeting him and being like, oh, okay, I think this could be something. And then at the end, she chooses EJ, and you sort of go through that entire thing with her because she knows that she has other prospects. She
Yeah.
knows that she could be into other guys and other guys could be into her. But you see at the end that she chooses him, and
Yes.
that's just like so profound to me because then you see him at the end and he comes up and that just sort of seals the deal for you to officially be a part of this ship. Like this is
Right.
where I mean like EJ and Gina were established before this, but this is the episode where you're really really locked in and
Right.
you're really really rooting for them at this point.
4 or 5 episodes ago, we're mad at Gina, and then Gina just takes off, and Sophia just
Yeah.
her acting. You forget after a while that like everyone used to hate this character, which leads to the next one that's called the transformation. They're trying to figure out a way to Ricky become the Prince Charming from the Beast. Carlos goes from that to Slices and tells the group that they can't win the Mankeys if the transformation scene isn't better. And they decide to split up between the boys and girls and try to figure out a way to collaborate and make the scene better. Lily FaceTimes Ricky,
I
asking,
hate her. Why is that happening? Why? How?
asking for advice of all things. And then Carlos and Seb are talking about each other, and Seb basically says he's insecure because he feels like they are together because of the limited options at their school for who they
Mm.
can date. Then we finally find Nini and Gina, and Nini finds out about chocolates on Valentine's Day.
Awkward.
Yes, yeah. Because at that point, I think we were texting each other like, at some point, she's gonna have to figure this out. They
Yeah.
can't just blow past this, right? And
Yeah.
EJ also, like you were mentioning earlier, this is the only time he mentioned Nini and him dating, saying he's not ready to put himself out there because he's afraid of being rejected.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the first time that he talks about it. Yeah.
yes, yes. Which if you think about it, like if someone started watching this like from season 2, you would never even tell that they dated, like at all. Like you were saying,
Exactly.
yeah.
At all.
Like there's no way to figure that part out. Ricky tells Carlos that what he and Seb have is special, and he helps him write a song for Seb.
Mhm.
And they sneak into the theater to get the transformation parts together. And EJ finally makes the move and asks Gina if she wants to get risotto together. Yeah,
Yay.
so they set up their first date, and then Carlos steals Seb to sing him the song in a heartbeat. And it ends with Ricky trying to transform, and he gets raised up, and they think they got it, and he falls. Any particular part or favorite moments from this episode?
I don't have a lot from this episode, so I want to hear your thoughts too. The only thing that really sticks out to me is how much I truly despise Lily. Like, how much
I
I really, really did like that character because I don't remember if it happens in this episode or maybe the next one, but she tries really, really hard to like relate to Ricky
yes,
about like being lonely or something.
yes, it's the
And
next one.
that to
Yeah,
me is so manipulative
yeah,
because she's not truly trying to relate to him. She's using it as a weapon. She's
yes,
like using it to get in with him. She's not doing that because she really likes him.
yeah.
She's using it as a weapon. And like it just establishes like I just dislike this character so much. So that is honestly what I'm thinking about time. But then EJ and Gina, EJ finally
Yeah.
asking at the end is huge to me.
Well, yeah, because at this point, I don't think we knew. I mean, I didn't know how many episodes the season was gonna have. So I was like, all right,
Same.
he hasn't made the actual move yet. So I was like wondering when that was gonna happen. And I'm
Right.
glad they, did it with risotto again, because I just think that's just so cute and clever how they put that together.
Right.
Um, I know that every single time Lily appeared on screen, all your messages were in all caps. Into episode 11, which was Showtime, the opening night of Beauty and the Beast. EJ and Gina, they're not going to the after party because that's when they plan to grab risotto. Lily approaches Ricky again and
Boo.
compliments Ricky.
Shut up. Like
Yes, yes. And I think, and Natalie again, comes in and just like, Ricky, you got this much time. She's like, Lily, scram. Like she walks by, it was just
Yeah.
hilarious, right? And and I thought when Ricky turns into the beast, man, that was just amazingly executed when they
Really
were
good.
showing the show. And the castings, Be Our Guest, which again, was an awesome number. They did a crazy job. And
Great job.
something seems off between Courtney and Howie. Howie looked like he was either hiding something or hesitant. He
Yeah.
looked a little frozen.
It was
Um,
weird.
yes, and then Gina finds out that her mom isn't coming, but she sent a surprise, and right behind her comes her brother, Jamie,
It's
who's a
huge.
successful music producer in the show, played by Jordan Fisher. And he talks to her, and they have this moment, and then he tells her that he has to go during intermission, but not before he meets EJ and tells him
Yee.
thank you for being a big brother figure in her life. To which,
Why?
yeah, EJ now thinks that this is the way Gina views him. Um, and then they go cut back to the show, and they're doing something there. There's something missing, and it's the harness. And as they're looking for it, it's revealed at the end of the episode that Lily stole it. And that's where
Right.
the episode is ended. Um, did you
Yeah.
know that Jordan Fisher was going to be in this season before? Was it announced? Like,
No,
I don't remember this happening.
I don't think it was announced. They like I remember him posting about it just the week before his episode came out.
Right
Yeah.
before. So,
Yeah.
it made me wonder too, like, is he going to be a not a bigger part, but like a reoccurring character as the brother? Like, because they
He
could have
has to
really,
be.
right? Because they could have put anyone,
Yeah,
right?
true.
But they get him, and obviously we know he can sing and act. So like, will we get a Jordan Fisher High School Musical, the series music in the future? Like, it
It
just was a
has
lot
to
of
be.
excitement around that episode. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I don't think Lily made you any more angry than you've already been at this point. It's like, it's just like, on brand for her at this point. Like,
Right.
and then at the end, when she has the hardest, which I find also odd. Like, not only is she sabotaging the show, but she wants to watch it too. Like, she's in the crowd,
Yeah.
like with it.
Sadistic.
Yeah, just oh god. And then the last episode of the season, episode 12, Second Chances. And it actually
Mm.
starts the show with the show is done now. So, clearly they figured out a way for the transformation to happen. And that to me was a little bit incomplete because we made this big deal. We had a whole episode called The Transformation, and we
I
didn't actually
agree.
get a transformation on screen. So
True.
I thought that was an interesting move on the show's part. Ashlyn's looking for Big Red because she had her big moment as Belle, and he's not there. It's like he's been disappearing all night. So she walks out, and it's shown that he was doing this big old sign with her names in lights, and
So
it's
sweet.
yes, very sweet. Howie congratulates Courtney, and it finds out that he's not really being shady, that he's just so blown away that he's like speechless and nervous. And then Mr. Mazzara got a call during the show, and it was a recommendation from Caltech for the doctorate of robotics program made by EJ's dad. Gina excitedly approaches EJ, and EJ says they should join the after party. And then she's like, okay, we can reschedule. And he insinuates that they shouldn't reschedule. And
Eee.
Gina takes that as rejection. And, that was a
Right.
heartbreaking moment. And Nene and Ricky exchange their opening show notes. And in a nutshell, they're saying it's here's to second acts and new beginnings.
Right.
Um, and then Miss Jen is worried about the Mankey Awards when the season ends and when the show ends. And Carlos and Seb are a little, I think, taken back by how like stuck on that she was.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Gina crying backstage, and Nene approaches her. And Gina mentions what happened with EJ, and she apologizes for the chocolates. And then I think they have that moment too where she says our show would have been better if they used a Rose song. And I think that meant a lot
Mm.
to Nene to hear that from
Yeah.
Gina. And then it actually goes from there for Gina saying, have you ever thought about taking your songwriting to the next level? And hints at meeting her brother.
Yep.
And then Ricky comes into Miss Jen's office and thanks her and says sorry about how he acted. And then she asks him, "Are you happy?" And he said he's getting there. And then the cast
Wow.
do a number, Second Chances, the song called Second Chances. And when they cut EJ, Gina, Nene, and Ricky into the outfits from the first season, and then,
Oof.
oh,
It hits. It
yes,
hits, dude.
it's just beautifully done, beautifully done. And then obviously the after party at Slices, and Lily and the French guy comes in to congratulate them, but
Hmm.
Ricky is kind of like, you guys should leave. And which Lily then says she likes Ricky straight up to his face.
Boo.
And then the cast decides at that point that they don't care about what happens with the Mankey Awards anymore. And Miss Jen comes in with the nominations and they decide to not open it.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Mazzara actually tells Miss Jen that she's the reason he's won't leave for Caltech. So
Wow.
at that point, yes, that's another right there. And then Ashlyn says sorry to Gina that she didn't know that she thought of EJ as a big brother. And then that's when Gina finds out what her brother said
Right.
and she runs after EJ. And then it actually cuts right there to Nene calling Jamie and then
Right.
Ricky calling Lily. And then Gina
Why?
asked, and then Gina asked EJ, can I kiss you? Will you be my first kiss? And they run
So
towards each
good.
other. We don't get the kiss, which I hope they fulfill in season 3.
I
And then
hope we get it. I hope we
yes,
get it.
yes. And then Natalie actually ends this season with the line "Buckle up, Wildcats. The summer's about to be hot," which
I love
obviously
it.
I think we talked about in our messages too that it has to be the summer because EJ is a senior. They can't delay it
Yeah,
any
they're not
longer
going to
than where
end it
they're
there.
at.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So, what are your thoughts and favorite moments from the last episode?
There are so many good things about this. First of all, and we can talk about this in our season 3 predictions, but I'm sure there's going to be more of Jordan Fisher,
Yeah.
since we just established that he's going to help Nene with her music career. But I think what I really, really want to talk about, two things. The first being just Ricky in general, and then second, the group number with the four principal characters. But
Yes.
firstly, Ricky. Ricky is by far one of the most complex character arcs I've ever seen on a Disney Channel show. Like the internal battles that this boy faces are so complex, and the way that they manifest like into his everyday life and to his relationships. I think a lot of it is obviously good writing, but so much of it is just Joshua Bassett and like how good he is,
Yep.
how perfect he is for this role. um like Ricky goes through so much. I think like his emotional arc is the most complex in the show because of all the things he's facing at home, and then how he lashes out on the people around him.
Yep.
Like, and I can talk about this too in season 3 predictions, but I just want to see more of him fixing himself
Mm.
and like not worrying so much about others around him because he has so many things to worry about.
Also,
um
I've noticed with Ricky, both seasons, like he's like having these moments with the antagonists. In the first season, he goes
yes.
to
Oh
homecoming,
my god, so true.
and then this one with Lily, like I don't know how many more of this I could take. Like, man, like when you when are you gonna learn? Like, it's like how do you not see this? Like, this isn't even your first time. Like,
That's so true. That's so true. And I think that's something that they want to establish about him too, is that he understands things so well. He understands people so well, and like he's an empath, and like that takes shape in like his songwriting, and like the way that he feels when he's not with Nene, like the way that he feels like when he's with his friends, like just everything that surrounds Ricky is like so well done to me, and that's why he's my favorite character. The second thing that I really want to talk about, that like I just think this is honestly one of the best moments in the entire season, is that number with Ricky, Nene, EJ, and Gina. Like
yeah,
the fact that it's just the four of them, it just takes you back to the reason that you're like watching this show in the first place,
yeah,
because it cuts you back to season 1, and it's taking you on the journeys of those four principal characters, the ones that you focus on so much, because it takes you back to like why we're doing this in the first place. And like they all have individual lines in that song called Second Chance, where they all describe their entire character arc in season two in like one little phrase, and they sing it over and over and over again. And that is just like so complex, such genius songwriting, such good storytelling, and the fact that they bring it back to the scene outfits and being on the
Yeah,
stage, like my mind was like
yeah.
literally blown. I was like, this is some mature ass stuff that I am watching right now. Like it just, that part is so, it's masterful to me.